I wanted
I
him
was
to
a
be
fan
my
of Geno,
quarterback.
bro.
That was my quarterback. I'm sorry.
I
It was my
like Geno.
quarterback. Oh, we're live. Everybody, welcome back to Safe Flight Squad. I am one of your hosts, along with these amazing gentlemen in DKBxJets and Gunny Gummy Situation Report. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Christmas is over. Got the New Year's here this weekend. Man, it's I don't know if it's just me, but 2022 felt like it was a blur. It just flew by, man.
Happened like this.
Legit, man. Like it's
this.
just been quick. So I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. I'm healthy. My kids are healthy. My wife is healthy. Family's happy about, you know what I'm saying, the holiday period. So I got nothing but blessings to talk about. So I'm doing well.
Good stuff.
Fact. Same boat. No complaints. Life is always good. So, you know.
All right, Banks, where do you want to start?
All right. So I had you guys know me. I was telling you, I was trying to figure out something outside of the box a little bit just because everything right now is either centered around the quarterback, it's centered around playoffs. And I'm like, after a certain while, just, you know, perspectives is cool, but shit gets beaten to death for me. So what I had whipped up for us today was, and it's a little bit of a look ahead, but I think this one's worth it and different from how we usually have to look at things, which is, you know, expecting a reset. So our topic today covers essentially putting together the best plan or way we think that we can upgrade the roster for what's going to essentially be a playoff or bust mentality for next season.
Right. So are you saying for the Jets, like playoff or bust because of everything we've been working for and it had the rebuild and everything? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So based on how this season ended up working out, and just because personally I expected year 3 was always going to be playoffs regardless.
Yeah.
Playoffs or bust is essentially the mentality next year. So with the roster we have, we basically need to come up with what our versions of the best plan would be to address the positions to try to get them upgraded.
Okay.
So I guess for the big one, we can kick it off with quarterbacks and we'll kind of see how each of the positions play out, I guess. But I'll kind of give you guys the best rundown as I kind of see it, or, you know, whoever ends up kicking off each position. But in the quarterback room, we know basically Zach Wilson's the only guy that's going to be on lock for next year.
Yeah.
We'll see what you guys end up having in terms of your plan. But
Gunny was like,
yeah, when the realization hits you, right?
I didn't think we were gonna jump like this, like just straight hot, right? I thought we were gonna go ahead and work our way up to it.
Come on,
straight off.
Always plays like that.
DK
man.
said, "Nah, we playing this game hot today. We jump
right
in.
No. Hot hand, bro. Hot hand. So Zach Wilson's the only guy on the roster next year. I have 3 quarterback options. If you end up feeling like you have a better option that you want, feel free to throw it in. But 3 quarterbacks for us to choose from that we want to add to the room that we feel like would upgrade it. I have Derek Carr, I have Jimmy Garoppolo, and I have Gardner. What's his name? Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew. The second.
Those would be the 3 options I would present for you to choose from to add to the room in terms of an upgrade. And then if you want to add from the draft or whatever as well, that's cool. But again, like I said, if you feel like you got a better option up your sleeve, feel free to shoot. I will let either one of y'all have at it.
Go ahead, Gunny.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate you. Yeah. So for me, I've been screaming like at the top of my lungs ever since we realized Zach ain't it, right? Like we all went from the beginning of the season throughout the majority of our show actually talking about how Zach Wilson was him. The dude made throws that were so incredible. Like we're just gonna see the progression, and ultimately we all agree that we wanted to know by the end of the season two things. One, come December, let's have meaningful games, so we're not already talking about, you know what I'm saying, the following year's draft, etc. And 2 was just know that Zach Wilson is that dude. Like he's our franchise quarterback. We're good. And I think we got the answer to both of those things, right? Like in terms of wanting to be playing meaningful games in December. Hey, boys, we're here. We've been playing meaningful games in December. Now, granted, we've lost those games, but nonetheless, meaningful game. We've all been tuned in every single Sunday or Thursday because we know like these games freaking matter, right? So Now we also got the answer to the second question. Is Zach Wilson being him? He's going to give us an answer as to who he is. Now, granted, the answer that we got isn't the answer that we wanted, but I think we all know that the game is just too fast for this kid, man. It's just, and we all knew it was a possibility coming out of BYU, the limited competition. We all fell in love with the arm angles, the improvisation, the ability for him to go ahead and make the big plays. But when we go back and watch the tape, we're seeing a lot of the stuff he's struggling with right now in terms of the timing stuff, right? That short accuracy, the simple, the easy stuff. He seemed to be struggling with it. And now at this NFL level, in this particular offense, it's becoming a hindrance. So with that said, I've got the perfect quarterback plan for our New York Jets. Now, I know a lot of people want Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. I'm going to say the Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers conversation, I think, is a little bit extreme. We're talking about having to give up a lot of assets and a lot of capital, a lot of money in order to bring those guys on. And we find ourselves in a situation where we're the Los Angeles Rams or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Where we stack up all these assets to go ahead and go for a push now, you know what I'm saying? And we live or die by how that turns out. I don't know if that's the route as Jets fans, as long-suffering as we've been, want to go, because we'll get a couple of years of, oh, man, we made it to the playoffs. And if it doesn't result in a Super Bowl, we're right back where we started. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can see that frustrating turning key. So I believe the New York Jets can do this. I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I just don't. I don't understand the logic behind Jimmy Garoppolo being the guy. This guy's been surrounded by Super Bowl level talent in San Francisco by the guy, one of the guys, the forefronts of this particular scheme.
Thank you.
And he ain't killing it there. So what?
And he gets injured like at least 3 times a year, dude. Like damn,
it's like clockwork. So we want to pay this dude all this money to play 8 games for us every single year. I don't understand why we're so hung up on Jimmy. I think Mike White is our Jimmy Garoppolo. So if we wanted Jimmy, let's just take the cheaper version of Jimmy and Mike White. But I do think we need to bring in Gardner Minshew. Now, I don't get it, man. A lot of people are talking crap about Gardner Minshew, about like, oh my God,
he's one of the best backup, top 5 best backups in the NFL.
Gardner Minshew's body of work had Zach Wilson given us Gardner Minshew's body of work in the 20 games he started, we would have had a statue of Zach Wilson already outside of freaking MetLife. So the thought process and logic by Jets fans that like, oh my God, Gardner Minshew, we have not had quality quarterback play in a very long time. Mm-hmm. We are not the ones to be sitting here and being picky about who the quarterback should or should not be for this New York Jets. The fact of the matter is, I think our team progressed significantly faster than all of us thought. I did not think we were going to be here. I thought we were going to be where we're at right now 2 years from now. And Garrett Wilson accelerated his freaking timetable, his ability to understand the game and adapt and now play at a high NFL caliber. Sauce Gardner shocked me. I thought we were going to have a great freaking player, good player. We have an elite player in Sauce Gardner, and it didn't take 2 to 3 years and one of the hardest positions in football. He did it in year 1. Yeah. We've got freaking AVT, Breece Hall, potential all-pros that we lost, unfortunately, but we already know what those guys are about. JJ's coming around, right? Max Mitchell is a starting caliber tackle in the NFL. There's so much to look at and say, wow, damn, the New York Jets right now have a roster that should compete in the playoffs. In fact, despite having the 34th ranked quarterback level of play in the season, we're still in the conversation right now to make it to the playoffs. Like, think about that. In spite of our quarterback being the 34th ranked quarterback, there's only 32 teams in the NFL, but the 34th ranked quarterback in the league, the New York Jets are still in control of their destiny with a little bit of help, you know what I'm saying, with the Patriots taking the L hopefully this weekend or next week by the Bills, whichever. But to be in the conversation right now, playing with the, statistically speaking, worst quarterback in the NFL to even be more worse than starting quarterbacks is mind-boggling. So, a Gardner Minshew that can bring in some average quarterback play could be a huge difference maker as to how this team can go ahead and elevate. I think with the Gardner Minshew caliber of play, we right now would potentially be the AFC East champions. That's how good our roster is right now. And of course, a healthy Breece Hall and a healthy AVT. And so for me, I look at it this way. we need to go ahead and bring Mike White back. Let's sign the dude. Let's give him a 3-year deal. And then I want to give a 2-year deal to Gardner Minshew. Have a legitimate quarterback competition this coming year. Now, Zach Wilson ain't going nowhere, right? Unless somebody offers us at least a 2nd-round pick for that dude. I don't see Joe Douglas is saying, you know what, forget it.
Yeah,
we'll just go ahead and toss this freaking number 2 overall pick. So I can see Zach Wilson coming back as QB3 for us next year.
Yep.
But we have Gardner Minshew and Mike White battling it out in the offseason for QB1. Whoever wins that QB1, who loses it's QB2. Zach is QB3. And then we move on with Breece Hall, a healthy AVT. I got a couple of ideas on what I would like to do in the offseason for the offensive line. I believe the Jets are literally an offensive tackle, an offensive center away, as well as a linebacker, maybe safety away from potentially pushing for top of the AFC. I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, but I can see us making it to AFC East AFC division championships with just a couple of tweaks. That's how good this team is, man, and how fast they've developed. And the great part about it all is it's young. Of every team in the AFC East, the Bills right now obviously are leading the way. They're about to get hit with some cap penalties here come next year. Once freaking that $45 million kicks in for Josh Allen. You saw the freaking Miami Dolphins give everything and anything to freaking Tyreek Hill and to Bradley Chubb, and they've got no draft picks in the 1st round for the next 2 years. We're talking about our opportunity right now to take over the AFC East with youth, cap flexibility, draft picks, straight up options. So Gardner Minshew, Mike White, they battle a lot for QB1. Zach Wilson comes back as QB3, and I think that's enough. If we even get this defense from 5th overall to a top 10 defense, it's enough for us to go ahead and chase the AFC East crown. And that goes a long way to getting you to the Super Bowl with that first week bye.
What's your plans, Gino?
I agree with a lot of what Gunny is saying, but I think I'm taking a new approach to this because there's a lot of uncertainty with the Jets next year when it comes to our schedule and who we're gonna re-sign back and who are we gonna let go. Because Joe Douglas has to make a lot of decisions next year. You know, he's got to see what he's going to do with the defense with, you know, Thomas, Rankins, and then you have Alexander, Mosley, and Quincy and Quinnen. And then you have to figure out what you're going to do with Whitehead next year along with Joyner. Do you bring them all back or do you cut one of them or let them go, sign them? I don't know. But he's got to make a lot of decisions because now our schedule is going to get even tougher next year. Now, I'm not afraid of people who are facing it because this Jets team has proven that we can go all the way with these guys until the very end. I mean, like I've been saying all year, if we had this team together with no injuries and with Mike White at the helm, we would have lost maybe only 3 to 5 games because of how we have kept it in with these guys until the 4th quarter. Now, he has to make decisions on offense too. Is he going to keep Lakin? Is Brown going to retire? Fance, obviously, I think Fance is going to be gone, in my personal opinion. But what are they going to do with Elijah Moore? I see him coming back, but it's going to be interesting what he's going to do with Corey Davis as well. Clearly, Garrett Wilson has proven that he could be Rookie of the Year, and clearly he's our wide receiver number 1. But what are they going to do with Berrios too? There's a lot of uncertainty. But with the running backs, you know, you got Breece Hall, you have James Robinson. Do you want to get him back or do you want to let him go for a 5th or 6th round? That's fine. But I'm glad we still got him, but you just never know. But I still think Carter should still be back here as well. And with the tight end position, though, I mean, it was Alman Conklin. Do you let one go, or do you keep them, or do you give Rucker and Yeboah some time too? They have a lot of stuff they need to take care of and evaluate. But it's not all hopeless because what you've seen from Joe Douglas is he is making all these deals. He has everything. I feel like he's got a lot of stuff under control. It's just what is he going to do tactically because of all the stuff he's brought in? You know, like the Cashman thing and the Herndon thing. Like, good God, you got draft picks out of that. So he's got a lot of decisions to make. But the quarterback position, that's actually going to be probably the biggest news this whole entire offseason. What's Joe Douglas and Saleh going to do with the quarterback position? Well, I'm gonna be honest. I don't like any quarterback, and I don't like any of them. Like Rodgers, and someone stop putting Brady going to the Jets. It's not happening. And then Lamar Jackson. If you are gonna go all out for Lamar Jackson, I know they have some history with the Ravens and stuff because his mentor when he's the Ravens drafted Lamar Jackson. If you're gonna pull a Rams with Stafford, then go ahead and do it. I don't think he's gonna do it, but you just never know because it's JD. But at the quarterback position, obviously Zach Wilson's going to come back. He should be definitely QB3. Streveler, maybe get him to the practice squad. I don't know, but he seems to come back just like Mike White, being cut 4 times, and he's still here. So what are you going to do with that? Mike White, I think he should come back on a 3-year deal. And if I had to choose any of those guys, either go out and get Lamar Jackson, or I like what Gunny said. I like Gardner Minshew, and I like Jacoby Brissett. Maybe go out and get one of those. And I agree, a two-year deal with an option of a 3-year deal if he does well. Quarterback competition and see what happens. We are only a few pieces away to being a playoff and a Super Bowl team this year. For me, though, we have a lot of pieces together. It's just injuries have just been sucking. I mean, this is probably one of the best teams I've ever seen with the Jets. So I think it is a little bit of a wasted season, a little bit, because we've had such a good team and it's just these pieces just suck. I mean, you bring in Alexander for cheap. Who makes all these cheap deals? I don't see anybody in the NFL making all these cheap deals like the Jets do. So, yeah, that's why I see it.
Okay. I was pretty much in the same boat as Gunny. So Gardner Minshew was kind of the secret option that I tossed in there, but I think he's the definitive perfect guy when I think about an upgrade for the quarterback room. The way I envisioned it is we obviously have a high ceiling just from the pure aspect of having Zach Wilson on there. If we can get him to work out, things are going to look spectacular. And I use Geno Smith, which, ironically, we play this week as a shining example. Nobody cares about what happened with the New York Jets right now. All they see is a Pro Bowl level quarterback right now that's out there giving his team an opportunity when honestly they were going through what was supposed to be a rough rebuild. So Zach Wilson obviously going to be on the roster. Gardner Minshew, I would re-sign Mike White as well to battle it out. I did like what our boy in our sports show had dropped in there. If somehow somebody like a Tyler Huntley ended up being available, I would also look at him. I do like what Tyler Huntley's been able to do on like relief duty for the Ravens, and we have a much better core. So the way I'm also looking at it is anybody that we bring in automatically should see kind of a bump in performance from whatever their general average has been. Garrett Wilson is such a solid piece, and getting this 4 yards to make him 1,000-yard receiver this season is so underrated, considering he's only the 26th wide receiver in our history to hit 1,000 yards if he can get it done this week. 26. There's guys that have put out 6 or 7 dudes in the last 10 years. So it's huge for me with kind of the offense that we're building, but I'll keep it at that. When we take a look at the running back room next, where do you guys kind of see an upgrade coming from? I didn't really have any free agent options readily available out there. But if you have an option in free agency, who would you go with? And then are you kind of double dipping between the draft, or are you going one or the other?
You can go, Gunny.
For the running backs, I love what we already have in-house. I do. I think Breece Hall gets back healthy. A lot of people are like, oh my God, you know what if Breece Hall comes back like Saquon Barkley and it takes him a year to get his mind right? I don't think that's going to be the case. The way Breece Hall went down wasn't like one of those no contact, like freaking like go down, right? And a lot of times when it comes to those injuries, when it comes to the knee, like an ACL injury, the reason why it took Saquon Barkley so long, I think, to get his mind right is because he didn't trust his knee. Like he literally went to go cut and it gave out on him. No contact, just went down. When a guy like that endures that, like that's different. It's a different type of process. Breece Hall took a hit, gang tackled even, you know what I'm saying? And then that's how he got torn. His ACL got torn. And I look at Breece Hall more of an example of like an Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson came back in 9 months and won the MVP the following year, right? Like it's not like like back in the day where an ACL injury is the end all be all. And I think more so if I'm going to compare one of the two, I compare Breece Hall more to an Adrian Peterson versus Saquon Barkley situation where this is a kid who ain't never been hurt before a day in his life. And he went to go cut. His knee gave out on him. It took him a while to trust his knee again because of the fact that it did him like that without contact. I like what we have in the house, man. I think it's going to be RB1 is going to be Breece Hall. RB2 is going to be Bam Knight. RB3 is going to be Mike Carter. And then if we're going to keep a fourth running back, it's going to be Ty Johnson. I think we're going to be getting rid of Robinson. James Robinson definitely will not be hitting that 600 rushing yards threshold. We're going to keep our fifth rounder, and he'll be a sixth round pick ultimately that we wind up losing. And we'll wind up getting I think it's a conditional, or the conditional pick whenever somebody else picks him up. If somebody else picks him up, you know what I'm saying, during free agency, because we got all the rights to him from the Jaguars draft. Actually, I'm lying because he was an undrafted free agent. So then there won't be any kind of conditional pick. But nonetheless, we'll get to keep our fifth, and it'll be the sixth. But we've got our running backs already in-house. It's Breece Hall, Bam Knight, freaking Mike Carter, and then we've got also freaking Ty Johnson. That's what I think is going to be our running back room next year.
Gino.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I would love to keep all five of them, honestly, but even James Robinson, but I just don't see that happening. I think with the emergence of Bam Knight and even sometimes Michael Carter is kind of like, okay, well, we kind of don't need James Robinson next year, but you never know with injuries how Breece Hall is going to come back. I do understand what he's saying, but injuries are injuries. If he can get hurt with not that much contact, it sucks. So I think you got to at least have a practice squad guy. I don't know who it's going to be, but overall, I do agree. I think it's going to be Hall, Knight, and I think Carr is going to be that 3. And I mean, I like Ty Johnson, what he's been doing, but I would like to have James Robinson back, but I know you got to pick one. So I think, yeah, they're definitely going to keep their 5th. He's going to be gone, and I think Ty Johnson's going to be in there. Or why not get someone later, a draft pick maybe, or a free agent signed for cheap. I think something like that too, because you never know with injuries, and it's going to have to come down to that sometimes. Because the Jets in the wide receiver position that keep signing and letting go guys all the time. So I get it. So yeah, that's why I think with the running back position.
Gotcha. I mostly love the room. I'm not 100% sold on it. I think a Ty Johnson upgrade is honestly the easiest thing. I know Robert Saleh says he's like I don't want to say a great third down running back, but he's comfortable with him as his third down running back. I think there's running back positions, one of those ones I feel like we need a pipeline for it. So I would honestly look to the draft. And I think we're still missing that power element. Granted, Breece Hall is going to kind of give us the all-inclusive package. James Robinson, I don't really see us bringing back, even if it's just for competition. So I would say Michael Carter, Breece Hall. If Ty Johnson comes back, it'd probably be a practice squad stint if he's even eligible. I don't remember what that looks like for him. But I think we honestly probably spend a 6th or a 7th round draft pick every year on a running back, and we ended up throwing them in the pipeline for development. And we won't. I don't think it'll be too hard to find somebody that we wanted to use LaMichael Pirine for, where we have specialty packages for them. Maybe somebody that used to have a quarterback background for like some Wildcat type stuff, and then just the power running back, somebody to take the load off Breece Hall a little bit, goal line, short yardage situations. It's going to be one of the easiest places to develop a running back, and we take it from there. I'd be comfortable having Ty Johnson as a backup on the practice squad, or James Robinson if it comes to that. I don't think he'll sign with us, considering he's not happy about his lack of playing time, but he hasn't shown what he needed to show, so it is what it is. But I think that would be my replacement to upgrade the room. Ty Johnson, I don't think it's even worth trying to dish out another contract when we can take that same money and pick up a rookie that'll probably give us the same amount of production, if not better, over the course of 4 years as opposed to a 1-year rental.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you guys think about fullback? I feel like we haven't even used Nick Bawden this year. I almost never see him whatsoever. Is it not even worth trying to grab him?
I haven't seen him really at all, and I can't really find much game tape on him, so I have no comment.
Yeah, he's been a non-factor. I think that they've gone so much in their big package, and they're utilizing more so a guy like CJ Uzama.
Yeah.
As that extra
And even
body.
Conklin,
You know what I'm saying?
too.
Like even
Rucker,
Conklin,
too.
I don't think he's here next year. I mean, we haven't really seen him utilized at all. Although we all know that this type of offense likes to have a fullback, right? As that potential safety net. He just hasn't done enough. I think that warrants, in my opinion, that warrants bringing him back. That's a valuable position where maybe we bring in an extra wide receiver, an extra O-lineman. You know what I'm saying? At this point, we could use more of those. And I just don't think the fullback position has been impactful enough in quite some time, man. Like in quite some time. Maybe what's his name? Was it Connor? John Connor?
Yeah,
maybe
John
was the
Connor.
last time.
Yeah,
we had a fullback that we all knew
Richardson.
we were excited.
Or Richardson.
Actually, Richardson was another one too. But it's been a minute. It's been a very long. Yeah, man. I'm with Gino on this one, man. I haven't seen enough of him to warrant not only an opinion, but to see the value as to why we want to bring that dude back next year. Well, that's a valuable spot we can add to an extra offensive lineman. An extra wide receiver, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who we know can impact the game as a whole.
Facts. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be worth it on my end either. All of the same reasons. Plus, even though this scheme calls for it as a way to have an additional blocker in there that can also have some receiving ability, a mini tight end otherwise, it just doesn't seem like Mike LaFleur even knows how to really utilize a fullback. I mean, if it was going to be done at any point this season, and I was just chatting with a lot of people about this, it would have been used to implement some running back screens, which we also never use. So it just kind of seemed like a waste from a talent standpoint when, as Gunny said, we could use it for a different position. And then if Mike LaFleur is not even going to schematically use him for the purpose of what he needs to use, then it just doesn't make sense. But wide receiver room. So Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1. We will still have Denzel Mims under contract. We'll still have Elijah Moore. Technically, Corey Davis, I think he gets cut, but he's still factored into the room. Braxton Berrios is still there. So we're still essentially looking at the same weaponry. This one will be a little bit more open depending on how you guys feel about moving on from a Braxton or a Corey. But what's your thoughts?
You can go first, Gunny.
Yeah, so for me, man, I'm probably in the minority when I say this. We already know Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 1. Elijah Moore, which we all thought was going to be wide receiver 1B, I think has now fallen into the category of more of a 3.
Yeah.
Denzel Mims is definitely wide receiver 4. They're going to be here. I think we bring back Corey Davis, man. And a lot of people think I'm crazy for saying this, but I think because we're talking about $14 million, right? When you look into the bigger scheme of things in terms of what that is for a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, even, you got guys like Christian Kirk making freaking $19 million next year, right? And then you look at a Corey Davis, yes. And I know people are going to say, oh man, he's been hurt or inconsistent. I get that. But when the dude plays, he's made plays. Yeah, as much as he's cost us with some ridiculous drops, he makes the more difficult catches when it's time. And I think at the very least in this situation, rather than going for that 14 mil, we renegotiate his contract. Maybe we add a little bit more guarantees, get him down to like a $10 million number, give him another year in the system. I would like to have continuity along some part of the offense. And if we can get that in the running back room, the wide receiver room, knowing another quarterback's going to be behind center, if it's not Mike White, we're going to have some shifts in the offensive line. Having those two components as solidified as possible, I think goes a long way to maintaining the progression we've seen on this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I'm a fan of bringing back Corey Davis at his current price, but knowing Joe D, he's probably going to bring Corey Davis back, with a little $4 or $5 million bit of wiggle room based off of the fact that Corey Davis himself will tell you he's not pleased with what he's done since signing a contract with the Jets. So I can see him coming back next year on a reduced contract.
Yeah, I agree. I think Corey Davis is very underrated. I think he's our second best wide receiver. We thought that Moore was going to be our number 1B or 2. He had the potential for that. So, but Corey Davis has done more than Moore has because of what Moore put himself in that situation. But also the targets are not there either. But Corey Davis, yeah, I would love to get him at a cheap price because we do all know Joe D. He's gonna try and figure out a little bit of wiggle room because he has to find a way to sign Quinnen. So I get that. But for me, number 2, I love that Corey Davis back. He's one of my favorite players. I want him back. And number 3 is Moore. But then what are we gonna do with Jeff Smith, Mims, and Berrios? I think. I think he's going to reconstruct Berrios because I still think he's a fan favorite, and some people don't like him this year. But last year they loved him. But I know what the Jets saw about what you've done for me lately, but I don't think they give up on him. So I think they're going to reconstruct that, and he will be back next year. But then you have to figure out what are you going to do with Jeff Smith and Mims. I think Jeff Smith is probably going to be back, but I think Mims might not. I think he really wants to try to go for a number 2 and number 3 somewhere else and get trade value out of him because I just think he thinks he's ready for that role. He wants to be in that role, but I don't think if you had to pick one, I think Moore's coming back, and I think Mims is the odd one out and not going to go. I mean, is going to
go. Interesting. I'm probably falling to the majority bracket then. So the original thought process was signing on Corey Davis was we have a strong number 2 wide receiver, potentially can enter the mold of a wide receiver 1. If he shores up some things like the drops, he'll provide a veteran presence. He's a core piece of what the Tennessee Titans were beginning to establish with the playoff culture. Right. All of that stuff, great. To Gunny's point, he's been our most clutch guy when it comes to key critical moments. And we're not just talking about fourth quarter. We're talking about plays that needed to be sustained, drives that would have ended very prematurely if he didn't make some outstanding catches. All granted, I still can't let it slide how often we're seeing some of these drops and things, though, when it comes to being that established veteran on the team. And I feel like at this point, just having a younger explosive option and just keeping that whole wide receiver room young. The premise of it was what guy was it? I want to say it was Steve Smith or not Anquan Bolden. I don't know. It was somebody like that though, but they were saying that Antonio Brown, actually, now that I think about it, he was saying that he loves to in the offseason work more with kids coming out of college, etc., because when it comes to being creative and, getting off the line of scrimmage, beating press coverages, shifty ways they want to move when they're running their route trees, you'll learn more from a guy who's not already nuanced and established and kind of has a set pattern for how he wants to attack things. And I think having a young room of a Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and these guys that we're already considering Garrett and Elijah elite wide receivers, even though Elijah's fallen off a cliff a little bit under, the Zach Wilson tutelage. I would be comfortable saying that Elijah Moore can kind of replace Corey Davis in terms of the production. Will we miss a veteran presence there? Maybe. I don't think that'll be a huge hit considering what we're doing in the quarterback room. So between either having Mike White, who's everybody's ready to, go out and body bag somebody for, or having a Gardner Minshew if they win out a competition, etc. I think that easily overtakes whatever loss we get from letting a Corey Davis go and keeping that $15 million, which I think, ironically, we are currently, and this is due to injury, paying the most amount of money for an offensive line is playing like crap. I think we do still reinvest a lot of money, but then that Corey Davis money makes the most sense to go out and grab a solid guard, a solid tackle, or a couple of players, because it's not like we're just missing starters. We need a lot of depth pieces. So I'm cool with that. I'd be very comfortable rolling out Garrett Wilson with Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims next year. Braxton Berrios probably finds a way to sneak himself on the roster still as the main return guy. And then if it's still Jeff Smith and, some kind of rookie dude, I don't care. But I would rather see if Elijah Moore can get back to where he was and potentially a little bit better by giving him some of Corey Davis's snaps and making Garrett Wilson the de facto number one wide receiver on the team and not really having to worry about split things.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I could see it too. Corey Davis being gone and having Mims fill that role, but I think they want to stack it. So, you never know.
I don't think it'll be a huge hit. I haven't seen anybody yet that can tell me what we would be missing that would be a dire need by moving on from Corey Davis. Like, leadership is really what a lot of people want to go to. And kind of as I mentioned, I think the quarterback situation overrides that. So,
and the O-line,
If Corey Davis could stay healthy, I think he'd be pushing freaking Garrett Wilson for wide receiver 1. But it's an if. It's a big if. I like Corey Davis' ability to block. He's incredible blocker in the run game. I love his ability to high point the ball. You've seen him make so many clutch catches. To me, it's the weirdest thing, man, to watch him make the most difficult catches and then drop the one that lands right in the freaking bread bag. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I get where you're coming from. I could just easily see him being cut. I could definitely see that too.
Yeah.
But damn, man, you're right. Like, for me, I think when it comes down to what he does well, incredible blocker, like just an impeccable blocker. In fact, it was proven when Corey Davis is in the freaking offense, we average an additional freaking 1.2 yards per touch in the run game because of his presence. So, at the end of the day, though, like, there's no valuable aspect like availability, and he just hasn't. No commodity like availability, and he just hasn't been available. So I could easily see him also being replaced, like you say.
Yeah,
good points.
Both.
All right, so tight end room. To be honest, I don't have much. I don't want to cut anybody. I know we've kind of had this conversation a little bit already. I don't think it's smart to try to go one or the over just to save a few bucks. I very much so, because we're only an injury away from somebody being concerned, and I'd rather not have that issue. Kenny Yeboah, a lot of people have been hyping him up, but I think people are kind of watching the stat box, or not the stat box, but they're more so tuned into the articles that are coming out about what he's doing and all this. Realistically, he's a key special teams guy, and not to say they can be easily replaced, but he's not really offering anything on the offensive side specifically for us. He's a core special team guy. I don't want to keep cycling through guys either, because I feel like that's kind of what Brant Boyer is also dealing with. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're paying our tight ends for the offensive side of the production. You can easily find a guy that's a little bit more able to be coached up for special teams rather than actually seeing the field, which is why a lot of people are confused about why Jeremy Ruckert hasn't necessarily seen a lot of playing time. But I think this is the best case scenario for us. We have Tyler Conklin. Maybe he can shore up his hands, most definitely. But he's given us one of our best tight end positions since we had Dustin Keller. So a lot of people are kind of having a lot of recency bias with him. CJ Uzomah, we've seen him take off under, other quarterbacks, big plays. CJ Streveler, that really should have been a touchdown if he didn't noodle arm it. So we know that he can play still as well. And if we get anything out of Jeremy Ruckert, who still won't be pressed to need to secure playing time, that's just the cherry on top. So I'm already comfortable with where we're at in the tight end room.
Yeah, 100%. I don't make a change in the tight room. I love CJ. Again, Conklin has been a bit of a disappointment based off of what we assumed we were going to be getting. Sure-handed guy. He was one of the, I think, top 5 in surest hands. He had like a 96%, something like that, catch rate, saying, last year. And to see him drop some of the passes he's dropped this year has been just mind-boggling to me. It's almost as if like they come to the Jets and they forget how to play football. You're seeing it in him, Laken Tomlinson. We'll get into that later. But I still like you said, best tight end performance we've seen since Dustin Keller. Even with him being not at 100% in terms of what expectations are, still one of the best tight ends we've had in that room in quite some time. I like our tight end room, man. CJ, Tyler Conklin, and of course Ruckert, which is a huge wild card, right? Because this was one of the guys in this draft that was considered to be, top 2. Some even had him as the number 1 tight end in this draft class, right? And we haven't had a chance to see him much all year. And I know at first it was due to the injury, him being a little bit slower in getting the playbook situated and understood. But at this point, man, I'm starting to have a lot more questions and concerns. We could use all hands on deck. He's obviously a weapon in the passing game that could be utilized. It shouldn't take this long. It shouldn't take this long for you to know what a playbook looks like and show that you can help this team. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I've had some concerns about Ruckert in the last 2 months, just because originally we knew he was being held back because of his lack of comfort with the offensive playbook. We're in December now, about to go into January. This can't still be a thing with a tight end you chose. You know what I'm saying, like that high in the 5th, 4th round. It just can't be a thing. So hopefully it's just me being worried because I'm worried. But I like our tight end room quite a bit, man. I wouldn't change a thing in terms of the tight end room. I'm not bringing anybody or drafting anybody. Again, this will be year 2 in this offense for all of these tight ends, and year 2 should make a pretty big difference, you know what I'm saying, in what they how they operate and how they elevate their games.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys are saying. Even though how much I've been frustrated with Conklin, I think overall I want them to use CJ a little bit more and bring Ruckert involved a little bit. And Yeboah, I mean, take it or leave it. You can always bring another guy in for that. But I agree with the playbook thing. I'm always trying to feel like, okay, this is this week that they'll get their time to shine, right? Ruckert gets his time to shine. No, he's inactive. Oh, okay. All right, time to shine. No, he's inactive. So I am a little bit worried about that. But I think, like Gunny said, I think I'm just worried for no reason. So, but with Conklin, like, he is a big body, but like, and so is CJ. But I've seen progression with CJ that I haven't with Conklin. I hope maybe next year he just busts out, because I've seen the way he does with the Vikings. He's really good with the Vikings. He was really good coming in. I was excited, but I was more excited what they could do with CJ in the red zone more than I can see with Conklin. Now, this has been the most stacked tight end room I think ever with the Jets. Like, I don't remember, maybe Keller was a number 1,
but we didn't have much behind him after.
Yeah, exactly. And the guy after him, I know we've all talked about it. I just forgot his name. That could be a close 2, but
you're talking about
yeah.
You're talking about the guy that's having the legal troubles and all that now that we grabbed from Seattle.
Yeah, I just forgot his name. Sorry about that, guys. But
damn.
Yeah, but like I said, I would not change a thing, and I hope that we can just get it together in a tiny position, because it is one of the most important keys with blocking, routes, red zone on offense.
True. I feel where you guys are coming from with Ruckert. One of the things I tried to keep in mind, and I just didn't end up getting a chance to research it enough, is I don't think it's commonplace that a lot of teams even activate 3 tight ends on game day, for one.
Yeah, it's just 2. That's what I was thinking, yeah.
2, seeing him earn playing time will come with the expectation generally of 2 scenarios. Either CJ or Conklin end up being kind of like a failure of a signing because they should be able to beat out a rookie, or Ruckert is a lot more advanced in his understanding of the playbook and his skill set right now that he's been able to earn a role that they feel like is better than whatever CJ or Conklin would offer. So I love the position he's in right now, where we'd love to see him, but he doesn't have that expectation of needing to see the field right away. It's essentially a redshirt year, like college for him. And next year, if we see the same thing next year, if he can't find a way to be activated on game day, some weeks, I would be a lot more concerned. But I think this is a perfect place. Keep him in the shadows. Let him refine his technique. He was more of a blocking guy than necessarily a receiving guy anyways, with how he was used in Ohio. Let him, marinate, season up, and then next year we see him go crazy, hopefully, or at least have a strong role. So I'm not going to be too nitpicky about it. We have the juicy piece now, though, and I've seen in the comments too. People are going live with this one a little bit. So the offensive line, arguably the worst unit out there that we have. I won't even say arguably.
No, it's the worst.
The
It's the
offensive
worst.
line has been atrocious.
Whew.
But, and we've talked about this, there's a lot of, I don't want to say excuses, but there's a lot of legit actions and events that occurred that couldn't have been controlled, couldn't have necessarily been predicted to the degree that we've had to deal with them.
True.
But when we look at it, going into next year, we basically only have 3 guys that are of any significance that are going to be under contract. Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker, Max Mitchell. Now, when it comes to them, obviously, the only concern about AVT I think anybody would have is if there's any setback from his recovery. Max Mitchell, hopefully his blood clot issue turns out to be nothing and he can have, kind of like a Vinny Curry-like return, and he'll be perfectly okay. We see him play as he did before that final week he came back to us. And then with Mekhi Becton, obviously the injury thing's the huge thing. I don't see us picking up his 5th year, so that's whatever. This is really his last-ditch chance with us. But I keep trying to remind people, and maybe this is just me holding on to pure hope, the issue was never talent. It was availability and the weight issues, which means obviously there's a level like immaturity with him being able to follow his plan and stuff. I think even that was blown out of proportion, though, because we don't know all of the ins and outs. There's a lot of things that are going to be different about his recovery than the average man. Trent Brown, which a lot of people like to kind of compare him to, I use as a huge example. When you see him go down, there's not necessarily an extremely quick comeback. And that's the same reason why the Patriots ended up kind of bouncing back and forth with the guys. So from that perspective, we're not really locked and loaded, period. I mean, best case scenario, AVT returns to form. Mekhi Becton doesn't get hurt. Max Mitchell's a starting tackle. That still only gives us 3 spots in the greatest of scenarios. So tackle this however you want, but really the question in mind that I have behind this for you guys is, would you go with a veteran-heavy approach with trying to grab the best guys out of free agency you can? Or are you really looking to just do a full-on youth movement and we'll deal with the struggles of having a younger guy, but somebody that's more athletic, moldable, etc.?
I know, Gunny, me and you have talked about this a lot with the offensive line. And I know we have both kind of agreed that we should go center and then get a tackle. Right? Didn't we talk about that on your pod one time?
But then we both looked at the tackle situation more so in the draft, and we were like,
and maybe not, right?
Stomach McGovern. Yeah, we can stomach McGovern for another year or so if need be.
Right. So for me, Tunsil, breaking news today, Tunsil today and yesterday, he wants to set the market again at his position to be the highest paid at his position. So that was actually my guy. I actually really wanted him a lot. Now,
who is that? It cut out for me. I didn't catch the name.
Laramie Tunsil.
Okay.
That was my guy too. I was really hoping.
Man, I would call Joe Douglas and be like, whatever it takes. Now, crap. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to go anywhere. We're not going to go out and do that anymore.
No.
So then you look at the other guys that are there, and there's really not much options. I mean, it's not much options at all. If you're going to – I know Brown's going to retire. But it looks like it. And when AVT comes back, there is some concerns about that because of is his injury going to be on time or not. Becton, I agree with. Banks, they're not going to pick up the 5th-year option. No matter how many times Sal said he's not done in New York, it's getting thin just a little. For me, I think – with Mitchell, hopefully the blood clot thing is not an issue, but you never know. And then McGovern, is he going to stay next year or is he going to, not? It's tough. But I think we should actually go and get a veteran center, get a tackle in the draft, but also go out and get another guard tackle in free agency as well. Because now I was all in on Tunsil, and thank you, Barty Miller. He's only 28 years old. Cool. But that's where I would go with this because I just haven't seen options in free agency that I want really big time in besides Tunzel. I know me and Gunny were talking about that Brown. Who was the guy from the Browns again? But didn't they re-sign him? Conklin.
They just did.
Conklin?
Conklin.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
re-signed him again.
They just re-signed him. So
Yep.
it's
So that's
it's
out the
where
door.
it's thin. Like it's getting thin in that free agency with that stuff. So we'll see what happens. They can go either way. What do you think, Gunny?
So for me, I'm with you, man. Laramie Tunsil was my guy, man. I was like, all right, priority this offseason.
So bad.
We got to get Tunsil. And then he said he wants to reset the market. And I'm like, all right, disregard. We're not getting Tunsil. Yeah. Because that's not a Joe Douglas thing, right? He's not going to go ahead and break the bank. And that's why I also don't believe we're going to get our hands on a Lamar Jackson or an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady. We're not, because this isn't Joe D's blueprint, right? He's trying to create sustainable franchise. So a franchise that can go ahead and compete year in and year out. Yeah, those guys are.
It's not a style. It's not a style.
Those guys are the fuck it. We're going for it now, right now. Whether we get it or not, we've got 2 years to figure it out, and then we'll deal with the purgatory that comes afterwards. So I don't believe with the Tunsil thing that's going to be possible. And the reason why I say that, there's no way Quinnen Williams cannot be on the Jets roster year after next. There's just no way. And we're going to be able to afford one mega contract this offseason, and that's going to put us in a tight squeeze in itself. Now, there's ways to go ahead and create some cap space, but there's no way we're going to go ahead and spend that kind of money on the defensive line and on the offensive line, especially when we're trying to figure out the quarterback position. We know there's some question marks at linebacker, question marks at safety. So my thought process is this. So I do believe that Dwayne Brown is going to retire. If he doesn't retire, he'll be here next year as well as a Jets tackle because we can't cut him. It'll be too much money that we lose if we do that in terms of cutting him. He would have to retire for us to save that cap space. Now, I'm hoping with all my might and all my hope that Mekhi Becton has seen this team operate and struggle at the offensive line position, that he's taken his rehab to a whole new level. Now, recently, I was kind of questioning whether or not he was doing this stuff, and it was somehow brought up like during a press conference. He's been in the building, literally working, busting his ass. He's in great shape, but he's on the IR. They can't activate him even if they wanted to. Although they did say if we made the playoffs, technically speaking, they could activate Mekhi Becton. I'm not saying to do that. Not enough game reps for us to be doing that. But the work ethic that he's displayed apparently has been very, very impressive. Now, we know for a fact when it came to Mekhi Becton last year that Coach Saleh was very selective of his words because I don't think he said like, oh, man, he looks great. He was very, very selective when he spoke about Mekhi. He's been pretty vocal about how well he's worked, how good he looks right now. So Mekhi Becton is still on the team next year. They're not going to cut him. He's not going anywhere. I don't believe they're going to activate his fifth-year option. He's just not reliable enough to be paying him that kind of money, but he'll be on the roster next year. And that gives you a swing tackle. Swing tackle is now handled. Now, depending upon whether or not we have Dwayne Brown or we don't have Dwayne Brown, that's really the only question I look at when I look at this. But if Dwayne Brown leaves, and let's just say the New York Jets, you know what I'm saying, get to the playoffs, one and done. We're picking between 17 and 19 at that point. Paris Johnson, offensive tackle for the Ohio State Buckeyes. My God, this kid is athletic. He's got size. I think he's got a little bit of rawness to him, but man, he's strong. I've been watching tape on offensive tackles just because I thought we were out of the playoffs last week, and the next thing you know, we're still in the playoffs last week. So like I've calm down a little bit because I want to go ahead and see this thing through. But Paris Johnson is somebody that I'm telling you guys, watch tape on that boy. That dude is impressive. And that would be my go-to plan now. Okay, cool. We're not going to go ahead and be able to get a Laramie Tunsil. We can have Mekhi Becton as our swing tackle. We're going to go ahead and draft Paris Johnson. We're going to go ahead and throw him into the fire. Like this dude he's been playing for for Ohio. He's got some familiarity with with Garrett Wilson, who I'm pretty sure can give some insight on the kid, his work habits, his work ethic. Garrett Wilson doesn't seem like the kind of guy who doesn't like, like putting in real work. So I'm looking at that as being an option. Now, if we can't get our hands on Paris Johnson, there's the kid. Hold on, his name is he's from Northwestern. God damn it.
Squad.
Yeah, I'm actually watching him right now. I'm actually looking up him
Peter Sharonsky.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Something like that. He'll be there in the first round wherever we pick towards the later end.
Yeah.
And that dude, again, raw, athletic, strong. I think he has the upside with our offensive line coaching to be able to go ahead and really take advantage of some of his strengths. So I think our left tackle is going to be found in the draft this year. Now, we are not going to get rid of Tomlinson. A lot of people are saying, oh, Tomlinson's trash. We got to get rid of him. But again, the one thing that we love about Joe D is he does a great job of getting these 3-year contracts, with that third year being his escape, his window out. So unfortunately, Tomlinson will be here next year. He's staying. Yeah, and this is why I think McGovern gets an opportunity in my book to go ahead and get another 2-year contract. The first year, guaranteed. Second year is an option for Joe D. We'll look at center potentially next year. McGovern, believe it or not, as much as we have a lot of hate for him, he's been graded out as
steady. He's been steady.
He's been the most consistent offensive lineman we've had this season, in terms of passing and running. Again, doesn't sound great, right? But again, he's considered in that average and above tier in terms of his performance. And I think getting average play and above from your center is nothing to sneeze at in today's NFL. Not to mention, you also want a level of continuity on that offensive line with somebody who been there, done that, got the t-shirt, keep it moving. And now our right guard. Hey, I think our boy freaking Elijah Vera Tucker comes back, right? He's scheduled to be back in time for training camp. So that's good. That's promising. Nate Herbig, I do think is somebody we should bring back as the swing guard, I guess you can say. I like Nate Herbig a lot, but our starter at that point is Elijah Vera Tucker. And our right tackle is our boy Max Mitchell. And again, they're saying the same thing about Max. I think Max is supposed to be good to go by training camp based off of the treatment he's currently undergoing. And Max Mitchell was a surprise at his draft for us. I think a lot of us all agreed when he came in, hey, this kid, man, is very, very technical, but he's undersized and he's smaller. He's going to get pushed around. Hey, I guess he must have heard the memo or heard the criticisms, because that dude didn't get pushed around going up against some of the better pass rushers in the NFL. So a Max Mitchell coming back and as our starting offensive tackle, I think goes a long way. I don't think George Fant's back on this roster. I just don't see it. George Fant is, I think, even more inconsistent than a Mekhi Becton in terms of injuries.
And we've only got
the 1 year of real tape on that dude, man. Like, we were all pumped about, hey, hell yeah, sign the dude based off of last year. I think we all forget just how bad he was the year before. A lot of us sometimes forget, like, he wasn't really good the year before. So I think he's gone. But those are our starters, man. And I think Mekhi Becton and Nate Herbig will be our swing tackles. I'm not saying it's the final solution, but at that left tackle position is going to be key, right? To see what kind of strength we can put next to Tomlinson. I think you put somebody who can kind of elevate their game a little bit. Dwayne Brown's doing the best he can, but again, my man is literally playing with like one arm, so he's not 100%. And you're seeing Tomlinson struggle because of it. I do believe that Tomlinson benefited from having Trent Brown next to him in San Francisco, and that's how he was able to elevate his game. I don't think it was all him, but being next to somebody who was as elite as Trent allowed him to go ahead and elevate his game. So, yeah, I think right now, looking at the draft, our first round draft pick, man, I don't care what anybody says, should be an offensive tackle. And my hope and goal is Paris, but if it's not, old boy Peter from freaking Northwestern is my second option. But I think that guy, one of those guys with our offensive line coach, I think you can go ahead and squeeze the most out of those kids' abilities because of athleticism, strength, pure raw ability. And yeah, I guess that's me in a nutshell for the offensive line.
I got you. So the thing for me is, when it's come to the rebuilds, we've always ended up going the veteran approach. Like we draft one or two offensive linemen in the 2 or 3 years the coach ends up being the head coach. And then those guys don't really pan out because it's always been like I want to say like a 3rd round draft pick at best or later, which, you can find them anywhere, as Max Mitchell's proof, if you know what you're doing and what you're looking for and how they fit. So I think my plan A, and I've always been a little bit different. Everybody likes to go tackles outwards. I think the center is the key piece of every offensive line. And I think with McGovern and what we're seeing is exactly why. So a lot of the struggles is obviously we've had a rash of injuries like nobody's ever seen at the tackle spots. He's had his guards go down. He's been the main guy out there getting it done. He's aging. He's battling. I think we were top 7 in like the most elite like nose tackles and stuff like that we were facing this season. So he was always going to have a rough time. But with some of the things that we've seen with the offensive line, it's been from a miscommunication standpoint. And that, as a veteran on the offensive line, similar to kind of the Corey Davis conversations, I just can't let that one slide if that's supposed to be your bread and butter. So for the center, I would be okay if we re-sign Connor McGovern because he has been the most stable piece of our offensive line. But I don't think there's going to be a steep drop off. You can find a younger guy that's going to be able to do some of the pulling, some of the double team blocking, some of the pass protection things a little bit better just because he has the fresher, stronger legs. And I think you can find a guy, and it's been evidenced. The last 2 drafts have been crazy for centers, and people haven't been paying enough attention to that. I was so pissed when we didn't grab Lloyd Cushenberry a couple years ago. And then everybody knows from when I was covering draft stuff last year, I absolutely wanted one of our top picks to be Tyler Linderbaum. And I didn't care about reaching. I thought he was going to be our next Nick Mangold. And God damn it, the freaking
yeah.
Always.
I was so mad. I wanted Lindenbaum and Slater.
Bruh,
That's who
I would have been perfectly fine if instead of having Jermaine Johnson, we had Tyler Lindenbaum. I would have been perfectly fine with that.
I wouldn't complain either. Yeah.
And he's not even a prototypical guy. He was just a skilled technician. Seems like he had the mentality.
High IQ.
Yeah, bro.
God, that kid was smart.
Fell in love with the dude's tape. So I really wanted him. I think that's the route that we need to go, honestly, because when you take a look across the league, this is going to be a rough free agency for us no matter what, because there aren't great options. The guys that are out there are going to want the bag. Jay Douglas is not giving the bag for anybody that we didn't draft. And these guys are aging. They're getting at a point in their careers where in this league, it's not a matter of they're not going to be able to keep up, but that's really exactly what it is. They're being bullied and pushed aside by a lot of these defensive guys that can get away with some of their athleticism early on in their career. There is a great article I read, and this was like 2 years ago, about how offensive line talent is starting to slowly fade away from what we've seen in the NFL, and then from college players coming out with the spread offenses and all that kind of stuff. You're not really finding the technician guys, but they're out there. Worst case scenario, you get you a strong athlete you can do something with. So for me, ideally, I would spend our draft pick, and we're looking at something like the mid rounds anyways, which would be perfect. I don't know if we'll have a guy that's necessarily going to go in that position, considering what happened with Tyler Lindenbaum, but I do like the guy out of Minnesota. For one, I always look for guys that are dealing with the same kind of inclement weather we have anyways, because I feel like that's a lot of the issues we have in free agency. We're getting a lot of these California boys, and they are not ready for 20-degree weather. But I like the kid. I think his name was like John Michael Schmitz or something like that. So I would start off, get me a fresh center. I would move Elijah Vera-Tucker to left tackle, actually. I think he has the chops to be able to get it done over there, and he's kind of a break the glass emergency option when it comes to needing to replace one of the tackle spot. I think it'll be a lot easier for us to find a guard that we can find acceptable play from as opposed to a tackle. Throw him in the tackle, throw him in at left tackle. Laken Tomlinson, I'm in the same boat. I don't see him going anywhere. So you pair AVT up with Tomlinson on the left side. We have our center. In this case, I mentioned the John Schmitz guy. Rookie, let him go out. But from what I read, quick synopsis, it seems like he's kind of in the same mold. High IQ guy. He's coming from a rushing team in Minnesota anyway, so he's going to automatically give us a boost in that department. And he's not necessarily a slouch. He comes with some size too, 6'4", 320 pounds. So I like having that build in the front. At right guard, I don't know if Nate Herbig is necessarily a starter. I like what he's came in and done for us.
It's a good backup.
If he competes for a starting spot, perfect. But I think that's where we go out and try to find a guard in free agency. It's going to be tough. I don't know who we can necessarily pick that'll even go out there and get it done. But maybe they settle for a Dan Feeney, Nate Herbig competition. Whoever starts. Whoever's guard is the primary guard there. Don't know.
Don't say that. Don't say Dan Feeney. Don't do that.
don't do that. I don't want him.
I was waiting for Gunny to say something. Oh,
God.
He seems like the most likely candidate, unless Drew Samia, who hasn't made any noise, ends up being able to go out there and make something happen. I think Dan Feeney, as a veteran presence, ends up sticking somehow. But AVT, Tomlinson, our center. I think Nate Herbig could potentially start, but we try to find somebody to compete with them. And then at the right tackle spot, I think they still try to continue the plan from last year. It's Mekhi Becton as the de facto guy. If we didn't pick a center in the first round, Gunny stole my guy. I thought Paris was going to be the guy that we looked at if it wasn't the Northwestern kid, just because they're going to happen to be available in that range. And I've seen, I've read the scouting reports for Paris. I haven't seen the actual game tape just yet, but it sounded great.
Oh, bro. It's so pretty, bro. It's so pretty.
Awesome. I love watching him play. Both of them.
Yeah. So I'm bought into the youth movement. Honestly, AVT gives us our guy. Laken Tomlinson's turning 29. Am I tripping? Is he
28? Laken Tomlinson.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So we have AVT, we have Laken Tomlinson. Hopefully he turns it around. It seems like, at least when we're talking, them both.
Y'all are both wrong.
Is he 32?
He's 30.
Damn it. All right, either way, he's not.
Laken Tomlinson's 30 years old, and his birthday is February. Oh, he's going to turn 31.
31, February 1992.
Not terrible. But I think having that youth movement serves us best. AVT, Tomlinson will pick the center. We'll have Nate Herbig, whoever the veteran guy we pick in free agency, that wins. And then we have Mekhi Becton, who technically is going to be a veteran in its own right, but he has the young legs. And depending on what we do in the draft, I feel like if we target offensive line, it just makes sense to grab the center, because if we don't get McGovern, there's not going to be another useful piece out there that we can get in free agency. We'll have to have a surprise trade for him, for whoever the guy would be to replace him. Whereas with the tackle spot, at least in the draft, you have a lot of options. There's 6 or 7 guys in the top 2 rounds that all look good to some degree, depending on what they feel comfortable with. The centers usually flame out after the first round or two. And then again, even if you want to go the free agency route, there's a few more options at the tackle spot than there's going to be at the center position for us to try to make some moves with. So I don't know. We'll see. I'd go center in the draft. I'll let Mekhi Becton battle a rookie unless we feel like we need a veteran. But I would make Max Mitchell, unless he outright wins somehow, he would be my main guy to be the swing tackle.
Listen, I know I say some crazy stuff, but that Dan Feeney thing, I 100% disagree with you. I'm sorry, man. That's the L. That's the L for tonight. I'm sorry. That's the L for tonight.
It hurts saying it, but we've seen the coaching staff get stuck to some of these guys on the offensive line, and if they don't keep McGovern, then I feel like Dan Feeney automatically is going to stick.
It's like Ashton Davis and Ty Johnson. They love him for some reason. But, I mean, we've seen some good stuff from him, but I understand what you mean, though, when it comes to Feeney.
It just makes sense. He'll be the veteran presence. He has the versatility. He can play both guard spots and center in an emergency, and then he'll kind of be the guy to, try to keep everybody on task, I guess, in that unit, along with Laken Tomlinson. But, trust me, if he goes, I will be throwing a celebration in the house. By all means. Him and that mullet crap that he got everybody on, they can all kick rocks.
And the mustache, too.
Man. God.
that crap off your face.
I like your idea of going with the youth movement at the offensive line, but I don't. Again, very, very brief. I mean, let's look to the chat. Right. Is there any centers that would be considered first round caliber centers? I know last year it was Linderbaum. That was the only one.
Yeah. And the guy I mentioned
that I saw. I know there's a guy in Ohio that looked really good, and there's some guy from Minnesota I remember hearing about too.
What are you guys trying to say about the center?
Which one? He was asking if there's any first round worthy centers. The only guy that I seen was the guy from Minnesota that I mentioned, John Schmitz.
23? You mean upcoming or last year?
Yeah, no, for the coming up draft.
Because I'm pretty sure the center that I saw that's also partnered in Ohio, he looked good. Again, I only saw him while I was watching tape on freaking old boy.
You're talking about Luke Weipler. They have him rated as like the third best like center in the draft from what I've seen. Okay. It kind of depends, but
I have last year's. Do you want me to name that, or do you want me to do 2023?
No. We're looking for 2023 because I don't think there's any first round caliber centers. Like I don't see any centers that pop out like freaking Linderbaum did last year. He went in the first round.
I think it's definitely a step back.
Okay.
Cooper everybody is like a fringe second rounder at best.
Cedric Van
Whoever the dude is from Minnesota, you said it's Schmidt, right?
Yeah, John Michael Schmitz.
Yeah. That dude. Minnesota. I know he's considered to be the top center in this draft, but even I think he's a second round grade.
Yeah, I've seen Cooper Beebe do some things. I've seen Van Pran, Robinson from Texas A&M. I've seen those guys do some things. But Schmitz, in my personal opinion, I think they keep saying first round, but I think he's at least a second or third. That's just me, though.
Probably.
Not. And then what was that one guy you were mentioning from Ohio State? What was his name?
Ohio State.
His name was Tyler. God damn it.
Yeah, he's not.
Luke Weipler. Sorry, Luke Weipler.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, well, he is on here, and he's 7th. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I know he's on the lighter end too. Like, cause he's just like he's very fast.
Yeah, 6'3", 300.
Quick shiftier.
I do like the Von Pran though. For me, I've seen Georgia play some games this year.
I mean, that might even be better for us if it's not going to be a consensus guy, because some of the guy Tyler Lindenbaum's I think the highest center that we had recently. I can't remember. Cushenberry was like I want to say he was undrafted so bad, but I feel like he was a third rounder or something like that.
Yeah.
Let me see. When the hell did Cushenberry get drafted?
Yeah, they got number 1. This is their top 8 right now. John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota, Cooper Beebe from Kansas State, Cedric Van Pran from Georgia, Layden Robinson, he's a guard for Texas A&M, Osiris Torrance from Florida.
Yeah, but he's more of like a guard.
Exactly, he is a guard. Cody Mock, O-line from
83rd pick. Yeah, Cushenberry was a third round pick. So I mean,
Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin, he's a center. And then you got Luke Weipler from State.
Okay, and I think my plans would change then, because it sounds like we can grab them both. I would grab the Paris guy from Ohio, and then I would double. I think we'll double dip anyways in the first 3 rounds at least. But then I would switch it up then, because I can just get both, and it'll be the best of both worlds. We'll grab Paris. Yeah. We'll grab Schmidt or whoever ends up being the next best option.
Yeah. But I think we need linebacker and safety help like bad.
Oh yeah, no, that's so bad.
I think we've proven though, because it's kind of what their whole premise with the experiments were. They've taken an aging LaMarcus Joyner and made him look suitable. Whitehead, I love the guy. I feel like there's a disconnect there a little bit, but still serviceable. What the hell?
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Just block it. It happens on mine sometimes.
Here comes.
I was like, it's like the second week in a row and seen it pop up. But he's made the safeties look serviceable. We're talking about a guy that should have been a great piece. He's kind of been playing whatever, and then Joyner really shouldn't be on the roster technically, but connections connections do a lot for you, networking. But I think
Ashton Davis has looked good in splurts. I think a lot of people kind of crap on him, but he's looked good in splurts. He was supposed to.
His angles have looked better this
Yeah.
season. I won't lie.
Yeah.
It looks like that mentality of not being able to take those correct angles because the guy's a freaking athletic freak. It was just how are you take
He's a
these
track
horrendous
guy. He's
angles?
a track guy in college.
But you've seen him mitigate that this year. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, bro. Like
I don't know if they'll consider it as high either, because remember the final when we had the final cut downs, nobody knew who the hell Tony Adams was, but Robert Saleh was talking man's up, right?
Yeah.
I knew him because I'm an Illinois fan. So
okay.
I love Tony Adams.
I had to go back and do so much research, so I was like, who the hell was this guy? But they seem to love him.
Fighting Illini.
They seem to love him. So technically he might be like a Weapon X next year or something like that. But even with Jason Pinnock, he was the athletic cornerback. They converted to safety. I think they just keep going that route. They're going to plug in guys that have crazy RAS scores, try to coach them up because they feel like they can. And that way they don't have to spend, a top 3-round draft pick on a guy when they feel like they can pick up a UDFA or somebody and, put out a top 15 guy at the position.
Especially when you got DBs like DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, and Michael Carter, you can
mitigates a lot of risk.
Even Eccles in there.
Yeah, that's true. We got 4 DBs right now that would start on any other team in the NFL.
And if you want to make an argument for Bryce Hall, that's up to anybody else. I think he's just a good back.
I go to bat for my boy, yo.
I love Bryce Hall.
I like Bryce Hall a lot.
But who would you, if you want him, would you replace?
Nobody. Unfortunately for him, there's 4 guys ahead of him that
I love Bryce Hall.
Better.
There's nothing wrong with him.
And I love Bryce Hall, bro. Like I was so glad we didn't trade him. They were talking about trade that dude. I was like, man, shut up. We're one injury away where we could use a high caliber freaking backup like freaking Bryce Hall.
I wonder if they still try to do that experiment they were talking about with moving him to free safety.
I mean, they could, but they haven't done it yet. But they could.
I mean, if they were going to do it, I don't think they would go ahead and implement that like mid-season, bro. We're in the
no. Yeah,
that's an off-season thing. That's
an off-season project. Yeah.
Because then Parks, I can't really see Parks staying around.
Pele died.
Yeah, did you not know that?
Yeah, I seen it at work today.
Yeah, Pele died today.
Are you serious?
Yeah. They've been doing celebrations and stuff in Brazil for him all day.
Oh yeah, all around the world, actually. All around the world. Maradona, quotes from both of them. They'll play football in heaven kind of thing.
Who said that? Yeah, Hawkeye, 100%. I do believe that the original trade up wasn't for JJ. I've said this a couple of times. I think the original trade up was intended for Linderbaum, but the freaking Ravens snagged him. I don't think they were trading up for JJ. It just so happened that
wait.
Linderbaum
went. Oh wait,
to the Ravens
at 25, right?
Right. And then JJ went 26.
But I don't know.
They were trying to trade up. They were trying to trade up since pick number 19.
They convinced me that it was JJ because of that whole situation that you were just mentioning. They said they've been trying to get him. They've been trying to trade up since the 12th pick or whatever the hell it was.
I think that's what they wound up saying in the back end whenever freaking they saw old boy go at pick 25. I don't think there's. I'm 100% with Hawkeye on this one, bro. I think freaking Joe loved Linderbaum, and he wanted to bring him in to be his center. But he went a pick ahead, and JJ was the next high man. Because remember, they said they were able to get freaking 3 of the top 8 guys on their freaking list. Linderbaum was before freaking JJ, 100% guaranteed.
Had to be guaranteed. I was not a fan. It's only because of where we got JJ at that I'm not pissed off. But I was not in the conversation of him being available. Not available. I wasn't in the conversation of him being used for any of our top 10 picks. I was so pissed that he kept getting mocked to us because I was like, the guy is not going to be the man y'all think he's going to be right away. If he turns into it, great. But we can grab him later. I promise you.
Yeah, I agree.
I had Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson as my top 2 picks for this past draft.
I had
awesome.
Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Williams, because Jermaine Williams is a St. Louis boy, but if he didn't get injured, then I could see him going over Wilson.
I don't remember who I had. I know I had. Damn. I think I didn't have Sauce because I didn't think we were going to take a cornerback that high. I know I had Drake London at 10.
Did you have Thibodeau?
I think that's who it was. Like my final mock draft, I think it was Kayvon Thibodeau and Drake London. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for me,
And then I was
started
trading up for Linderbaum.
I was going edge rusher, and then like started watching like, okay, what if we can't get an edge rusher? What's the next best thing? And I was looking at the linemen, and I was looking at Sauce, and I was looking at freaking old boy from LSU. Went to Stingley.
Yeah.
And bro, watching Sauce's tape, I was like, this dude's a freaking freak, bro. Like this don't make no kind of sense. And I don't know, man. I just started crushing on that dude, bro. Man crush happened at a whole level. And I was like, oh man, F it. I'm going Sauce Gardner number 4. He's got to be the guy.
I was so shocked. I'm like still shocked that we actually pulled the trigger. I
100%.
was just so stuck on the trends of what Joe Douglas and Saleh on their teams had done.
I never in a million years thought that Joe was going to pull the trigger. I was just saying, man, I love this kid. So my mock drafts, I just decided to have my fantasy mock draft and say, you know what? I'm going for Sauce. And in reality, I swore Joe was going to go Kayvon Thibodeau. When Kayvon was there, I was like, yep, he's going Kayvon. Like edge rusher or offensive lineman. Ike Iguanu was the other guy that I thought was going to go with our pick. I did not think in a million years he was going to take Sauce. And he took Sauce. Man, I lost my shit when I saw that, man. Bro.
Me too.
I couldn't believe
I almost cried.
Sauce. Bro, legit. Then I was just like, okay, cool. Now we're going to get JJ at pick 10 because the Kayvon had gone away. And then he picked Garrett Wilson. And I was like, motherfucker. I was not happy about the Garrett Wilson pick. I thought me neither.
Yeah, me neither.
In my opinion, the only wide receiver that I would have been happy taking in the first round was Jameis Williams.
Same here. He was same.
Yo, I didn't want him either.
I wanted him so bad.
Drake London.
If he didn't have his
if he did,
then Williams,
the only wide receiver had a first round grade to me.
Exactly.
Was Williams. I was like, man, that dude brings something.
What?
The other one
I was bugged in on London.
Great route running. Alabama.
Bro. And I hate Alabama. And I'm telling you right now.
I know you do. And I love Alabama.
I was sold on Drake London, bro. Even if Jamison Williams didn't get hurt, it would have been Drake London.
I didn't like his lack of separation against freaking college kids.
And I didn't think he needed it. I thought he was a younger version of Mike Evans. And I thought we needed that on the perimeter.
See, Mike Evans is bigger and stronger, though. That's the thing. And Mike Evans is actually a pretty good route runner. Mike Evans is a real crisp route runner. People don't give him enough credit for that. And that's what people were saying. Oh, his comp is Mike Evans. And I watched that. I'm like, this motherfucker is sloppy coming out of his breaks. He is not as big as strong as Mike Evans. The way Mike Evans was able to go ahead and mitigate the fact that he can't create separation, he was bigger, stronger, and had those clean routes. But Drake wasn't that much bigger or stronger than the kids he was playing at in college. He just happened to be. In the NFL, I didn't think that was going to be an advantage. And that made me nervous. So for me, I had him as my first wide receiver taken in the second round, though. I will admit that. Ahead of Garrett Wilson. And ahead of the other guys. No, Jamison Williams was the only wide receiver I said, if we're going to draft one, if he didn't get hurt, it's him. Because that elite speed, can't teach that shit. That's just God-given. And his ability to his crisp route running, bro, his hands. Watching him at Alabama, and I was like, man, I hate watching Alabama games, but goddamn, man, this boy good.
I think this might be I think maybe we split this in two because I wasn't sure how long the conversation might actually flow. So I think actually we split this in two. We do like a defensive version.
Let's do defensive version next time. Thank you.
But,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I think Sergeant Mike's point here is interesting. So Joe Douglas has been trading up too much over the 3 drafts that we've seen. I don't necessarily agree with the point.
I don't agree because why not? He's made it work.
Yeah, so
4 rounds is really not that.
This draft, bro, is not deep. Again, everything that I've read thus far is like this is gonna be one of the weaker drafts of the last 10 years.
But this past year was deep. though.
It was deep, but the trade back in the draft where the talent level is just like it's not deep. I think it's like playing Russian roulette at this point.
Yeah,
like especially when you're talking about a team right now he did so freaking well last year. We're already a year ahead of the rebuild. I'd rather make sure we put us a couple of pieces that's going to benefit us this year.
Yeah,
because again, man, these windows are short in the NFL, bro. We're talking about 3 to 5 years, bro. And then it's gone.
I don't even it's weird to see though, because when we think about the trade ups, AVT is obviously a win. We're talking about an all-pro guy if he didn't get hurt.
Yep.
Jermaine Johnson is still one of the better edge rusters statistically.
He's going to be special.
He hasn't had the same playing time.
Clemens
and those are really the two big trade ups. We went up and got Breece Hall, all pro.
No regrets there. All pro caliber running back.
I wanted them to do it so bad, and they did.
That I never saw coming, bro. I never saw that. Like I knew Breece Hall was the best guy. I knew Breece Hall was the best guy. Did not again. Joe Douglas did a lot of things this draft I did not think he would do. I did not see him taking Garrett Wilson, a wide receiver, with that number 10 pick. I didn't see that coming. I didn't believe he was going to take Sauce, even though I was hoping and praying and wishing for it. I thought he was going to go defensive lineman or offensive lineman. And then when he traded up, I thought he was going for the linebacker. I was like, okay, he's going for the linebacker now. What was his name? Georgia linebacker. He's balling out right now too.
Nakobe Dean.
Oh, Nakobe Dean, bro. I freaking love that dude.
Me too.
Then
I want him so bad.
Breece Hall. I heard Breece Hall, I went from being upset to thinking, well, damn, that's the best running back in the draft. And then I had to remind myself, like, that's also a win.
Yes.
It wasn't a need. It wasn't a need, but it was a want, I guess.
It was great.
But bro, look what that dude did for us.
I want him or Cook.
I want him or Cook. Breece Hall single-handedly, I believe, this season won us 3 of our games by himself.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not. We don't regret it now. We have 4 wins. Yeah, we'd have 4 wins right now. I don't regret it now,
but I was pissed when we traded up for him.
Same here. I thought we were going for Nakobe Dean. That's where I wanted. I wanted Nakobe
Dean.
The
pick didn't even matter. It was the fact that we spent so many picks to like Sergeant Mike's point, because I felt like there was a lot. We could have probably grabbed. Was Nakobe Dean the guy that dropped a bunch of rounds?
Yeah, he dropped.
Was it the other
bunch of rounds.
No.
They picked him up in the
fifth. Dropped.
Okay,
the 5th round.
No, fourth round. It was fourth round. That the
So I feel like we could have got him. There was still safeties that we could have grabbed. There was a opportunity to grab another offensive lineman as well, which we probably still would have took Max Mitchell too. So like, I don't know if it will offset what Breece Hall has meant to this offense. So that's why I don't have the regrets. But yeah, ultimately, I think
third round, 83rd pick.
Okay. If we didn't take Breece Hall, bro, imagine this: he would have been a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah. No. I thought they were. I thought it was the Giants. They thought were going to pick him.
Buffalo Bills were
was it the Bills?
Pick number 30.
We're talking about Cook, right?
No. We're talking about Breece still.
That's who they were
ahead of us.
Yeah.
It was the Bills.
The Bills were
and they went with Cook. Yeah,
they had no choice because we took Breece.
They had choice to get Cook. Yeah, no
Breece
choice.
was the one that they were gonna pick, and that's why the Jets said,
not so fast.
Deal with him and Josh Allen in the division. It's just
no
not gonna
way.
happen. Because could you imagine him, Josh Allen, and freaking Stephon Diggs?
Dude, shut up. I don't want to.
Chalk it up until the
y'all got me beat. Then I could have swore it was the Giants. I wouldn't have gave it.
No, it was the Bills. The Cook had no choice to go to the Bills after that.
Yep.
They were going to do that one.
I would I felt like, God damn it, I feel like I should have probably dropped a recap in the I'll do a next video. Should have dropped something in chat or something as I was keeping pace with it. But yeah, so for everybody that's around, we'll do a defensive version of what we think the best upgrades to the roster for next season can be. I'll keep track of that one better. Maybe I'll find a way to put something up on the little video screen or something. But damn, I just had something in my head for y'all, and it slipped.
Is it cookies?
It's
still the holidays.
Damn. I know it was something good. It's whatever. Damn. Yeah. God damn it. Yeah, I'm pissed. I don't know. I can't remember who was the running back that I liked though. There was Breece Hall was obviously the ace.
Kenneth Walker.
No, it wasn't Kenneth. It was like a 4th or 5th round guy.
Pierce.
It might have been Cook that I was liking, but Pierce. It was Pierce and it was James Cook. I thought if we skipped on a 2nd round running back, it was going to be one of those two guys, and I thought they were going to be extraordinary in the offense. And I think it was Damian Pierce over Cooks because he had the power element. He was what James Robinson was supposed to be for us. And I think I think that's what I really wanted to pair with Michael Carter. It was Pierce. I wanted Michael Carter to have his version of Javonte Williams, and I thought that's what Damian Pierce was going to be.
I feel you. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I really wanted that Kirby Joseph kid, man, the safety out of Illinois.
Yes. Oh my God,
man. That dude's another one that I saw during the draft, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the guy.
You talking about Fighting Illini, right?
Safety. Say it again.
Fighting Illini. Joseph. Is that
Kirby Joseph?
Kirby Joseph.
Oh, never mind.
I think he played for Illinois. Maybe
was it Fighting Illini?
I wanted Lewis Seen from Georgia. That was my guy.
Yeah, no, because
I wanted
one too.
Kirby. You said Kirby Joseph.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was a Fighting Illini guy. Yeah, Fighting Illini. Yeah, that's who I wanted too. Was Kirby Joseph.
Lewis Seen was my guy. I just didn't think we were going to grab him in the 2nd, so it was whatever.
Where he wound up going? 3rd, right? Or was it 2nd?
No, I think he went 2nd. Because the Vikings scooped him up.
Who? Seams?
Yeah, Lewis Seen when
I'm trying to think.
I
remember Jalen Pitcher. I remember going in the 2nd round because I think he went right after Brees. What are the safeties?
Oh, they grabbed him the 32nd pick in the 1st. That's what it was. They traded up to get him with the Lions.
Oh, so he was a 1st rounder. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking in the 2nd round, I don't think he went in the 2nd.
Yeah, I remember it now because I was pissed because we still had a bunch of safeties on the board, and I thought we were going to have our pick of the best safeties in the 2nd. That's why I didn't think we were going to go Brees Hall. I thought we were going to finally go out there and get like a top-notch kid.
I think it was Brian Cook. It was Brisker.
You said Scene?
Yeah.
CINE.
Vikings.
Yeah.
Vikings
32nd pick.
Yeah. He had to be a 1st rounder.
Dark Soldier's a fool.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
drafted in the 3rd round, it looked like. Sorry. Hold on. I'm getting stuff wrong here.
Well,
he got drafted. Exhausted. First round, Vikings, 32 overall, 1st round.
Any final thoughts on the offensive side of things? My brain's beat trying to piece together.
No, you're good. Nah, I think we covered everything. Defense next time.
Yeah, the defense should be fun because I know a lot of us really want to upgrade this safety and linebacker room.
There's just so many decisions we got to make. That's all.
Facts. All right, boys. Well, we appreciate you guys. I think this might be the most
this is the longest stream we've ever had.
No, we haven't.
No. We had like almost an hour 50 once.
Yes, exactly. This is not the longest
one.
But I think this is the most amount of people we've had congruently, like at once in a stream. So that's dope. I believe this is our most active, like little comment stream that we've done too. Which is dope.
Yeah, damn, you're right. I didn't see these
comments. Yeah, it was going crazy. I was like strolling through comments for a minute
trying to go back and catch up
with stuff. Nah, I've been talking and listening to you guys give feedback.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, who's winning on Sunday?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Gotta do predictions.
Yeah.
Because it's God, I'm stressed.
Listen, this is it. Like we've been talking about being in the playoff season for like 3 weeks now. But this is officially it. Jets lose this weekend, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no playoff hopes.
Facts.
It's a wrap. And there's no other scenarios. People lose or whatever the fuck ever. This is it. And Mike White's back. Thank God Mike White's back. And I do believe in the matchup of quarterbacks, I'm going to say we're pretty much even. I think Mike White is on par with Geno Smith.
Agreed.
And the advantage for us is going to come in our defense versus their defense. And I think that's going to be the ultimate game changer for that. They're the 27th ranked defense. You know what I'm saying? Nothing to write home about. And we're the 5th ranked defense. You can write home about that. So I got the Jets ultimately getting this dub because We're even at the quarterback position. I'll give them the edge when it comes to the running backs. I actually like our wide receivers better. They've got DK, and then after that, it's just.
I like Tyler Lockett. I'm actually a big fan.
Tyler Lockett, though, is coming off of injury.
Exactly. We don't know what we're going to get.
We don't know what we're going to get from him right now, right? So, but
it's our best matchup too. I know DK is kind of a freak, but Tyler Lockett and DJ Reed matchup probably the best that he's had all season.
Yeah. Facts. And then Sauce
and then Noah Fant's been getting involved a lot more too.
This is true. I think the Jets ultimately win this, man. I think that understanding the situation, this is Mike White's opportunity. He understands that if he shows out here, he's going to be getting himself a bag. You know, he's got that beautiful family. He's already wanting to provide them a nice, bigger house. You know what I'm saying? More opportunities for. The guy has the grit. The team seems to rally around him.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people talked about how the team seemed like they were dead and dead in the water the last couple of weeks when there was Zach Wilson out there. And to me, it's kind of frustrating because you're professionals. You shouldn't allow, your distaste or whatever against your quarterback impact your performance. But they're still human beings like the rest of us. And leadership is leadership. And I think at the end of the day, those guys believe in Mike White, so we should see elevated play across the board. New York is going to win this game 21-10. I think it's going to be 21-10. I don't think it's going to be close. This is going to be one of those close games. I know we're going to be in their house, and it's difficult to play out there. But the Seahawks are right now are kind of in a downward spiral as well, right? And I know we've lost 4. They've lost 3 now in a row. But again, I think ultimately when it boils down to it is we're familiar with Geno. We've got a little bit of, understanding of the wide receivers through DJ Reed. And I like our defense better than their defense, man. I think we win this game 21-10. And next week we play the Dolphins, we're in.
Wow. Man, I'm going the opposite. I think DJ Reed is going to ball out because I think he feels disrespected because of the whole thing that happened in the offseason. He said it today in his his little interview that he had, not in his press conference, but I think he's going to ball out. I think Geno's going to be ready for us. I know he still has love for us, but I think he's just going to be ready. I think Pete Carroll's going to be ready. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be coming down to the wire again because you never know with the Jets. So I think it's going to be 27-20 Jets. And it's always going to come down to the last minute with these guys. And I agree with Gunny. Geno can be slippery. He's going to throw some touchdowns. White gives us a better chance to win. They love him. And he can throw touchdowns too. It's just if we can catch it. So, 27-20 Jets. High-scoring game. Come down to the wire in the fourth quarter.
Real quick, Sergeant Mike brings up Kenneth Walker can break long runs and Metcalf is a freak. For the record, Kenneth Walker has only had 3 games this season where he's actually played above the NFL average of 4.5 yards per carry. And those 3 games, of course, were highlights, and they showed them all over the screen, but they were also against the 26th, 29th, and the 30th ranked defenses. And Kenneth Walker has not practiced since last week due to an ankle injury to include today. So I doubt we'll probably even see him on Sunday, which is why I felt more comfortable about it being a bigger win because it's him and Homer, both running backs, did not practice the last 2 days. So that's why I feel good about that.
Then you never know what Lockett's going to do either. So that's a good point too.
I think I'm going to settle on, damn it. I want to say 27-13 only because I know we're averaging about 21 points or so with Mike White. I think he gets a touchdown or 2. Maybe we get one on the ground, and I think we get some kind of, I don't know if we get a defensive touchdown, but definitely one that leads to it. So I'll lean 27-13. I think Geno can still make something happen with DK. I don't trust that Tyler Lockett or Kenneth Walker, if they play and all that kind of stuff, will be able to do much outside of that. We clamp down. So I'm going to say 27-13.
Yeah, hope Mike's ribs. Yeah, I hope Mike's ribs are good too, Hawkeye. That's a good idea. No problem.
Sergeant Mike. Have some extra padding.
New England does need to lose.
Well, yeah, but
New England is playing Miami this weekend, and then they're playing the Bills next week. I think
there's a lot of hype about Bridgewater when we're supposed to play him, so I'm expecting that same energy, and they go out there.
I actually think the Dolphins lose this weekend. I think the Patriots are going to beat them. It's weird, but I got this vibe that the Patriots defense is going to do what they do and they're going to get one of these wins against the Dolphins. But I do believe, again, doesn't matter next week when we're in, and the Patriots are going to lose against the Buffalo Bills because the Kansas City Chiefs are not losing to the goddamn Denver Broncos, which means they'll have to play their starters next week in order to get the AFC number 1 seed. So that's the only reason why I think we're going to be able to get in. Dark Soldier is going to be Buffalo smacking that freaking New England team around next week, and that's when we'll know we're in the playoffs after we beat the Miami Dolphins.
I got you. All right. So 27-13. Gino, you had 27-20.
Yep.
And then
I'm at 27-10.
27-10. All right. Fuck it. We up.
Let's do the damn thing.
Well, we appreciate y'all. Got to sneak in our weekly predictions in there. Gino, good catch. But we appreciate y'all. It's been lit. We're growing. It's getting there. One of these days we'll have an AFC roundtable. You know, a couple hundred people sitting around in here. We'll never be able to keep up with chat. You know, I can barely do it now, but it'll be lit. It'll be lit. So we appreciate y'all though. As always, DKBxJets. I got my boys, Italy Jet from Everything NYJ. I got Gunny Gumby, your Jet Situation Report. You guys are going to be seeing us a lot. We out here. So we appreciate y'all. All the love, the extra support, holidays. Y'all just love us. You spreading the love to your friends. It's all much appreciated. And we got some big things coming next year too. So, you know,
facts.
Stay tapped in. But I hope y'all have a good night. Happy New Year's in advance for all of y'all. Hope the holidays were great, and we'll catch you guys again. Peace.
See you guys next year.
Peace.